It's time for a nice evening ride on Old Stagecoach Road here in Kyle. The air's nice and cool, the sun is hitting the treetops, almost home. The edge of the traffic lane is in pretty bad shape through here, with missing chunks and a steep and uneven slope for several feet of the lane. Even so, this is probably the heaviest biked road in Kyle, mostly because other roads through town are too dangerous. Still, that doesn't mean we can fall into a false sense of security about how our neighbors will treat us. So what happened here? Somebody talking on their cell phone? Was it a classic case of somebody pulling up next to a bicycle and just not paying attention? The answer's worse than that, but we'll get to that in a minute. Is it really that bad? I mean, it looks like the car leaves plenty of room for the bicycle, and wasn't the car in front anyway? That turns out to be the wrong perspective. See, this camera has a fisheye lens, which means it records a field of view of at least 140 degrees. To catch the same perspective as the camera, you need to move closer to your screen. How close? If you have a 15-inch screen, your face should be 2¼ inches from the screen. If you're watching on a 3-inch cell phone, your eye should be 3/4 of an inch from the screen. Go ahead and try it. I'll wait. That's how close this car really came. And this is after I've moved over because I could hear it. Let's look at the slow motion replay. The clock in the lower right corner is off by an hour due to daylight savings. So you can either count seconds or you can count frames, since the camera recorded at 30 frames per second. From the instant the car pulls into view, it's more than halfway across the center line. But then, in less than 2 seconds, it swerves to the right. So we can rule out the idea that the car was idling there in the other lane and just happened to forget that the bicycle was there. Instead, it pulled up next to me, matched my speed, and then swerved hard to the right. Incidentally, that air horn was mine. I was trying to say, "Whoa, stop, there's still somebody here." Didn't work. Still, I'll leave a description of the air horn in the comments below because it has saved me on a number of other occasions from people who are not paying attention. How much space did the car actually leave me when it pulled over to the right? The fisheye lens is misleading because it makes everything look far away. But if you look closely at the asphalt, you see there are a couple of wheel tracks, and we can use that as our measurement tool. Like most well-used roads, the asphalt gets a polished look where most of the traffic drives. I was riding along the right edge of the right-hand wheel track, just outside the reach of potholes and random dips, but as far to the right as I could safely ride. Just how close did it come? Well, let's take a look. My previous path is still visible as the right edge of the right wheel track, and the distance from there to the wheel is less than 1 foot, and that doesn't count distance to the fenders or the body of the car. Certainly my mirror on my bicycle and my handlebars would have been hit, if not my arm, elbow, handlebar itself. Even without a bicycle, I'm more than 1 foot wide. So let's review. I ride legally. That's the funny thing about cameras. They record everything, so you don't have to take my word for it. I have hours of footage waiting bored at stoplights, just like you. Speaking of which, this did happen just at an intersection, and I'm pretty sure Texas state law has something to say about that. Even if you're convinced that all bikers break the law, when you find one who is obeying the law, you should definitely run him over. I'm not sure manslaughter by proxy is actually a thing. The only remaining question is, was this intentional? I'm not going to play the conversation with the driver because, frankly, I sound like a guy who just had someone swing a 5,500-pound club at him. But it went like this. "What was that? You just pulled up next to me and ran me off the road." "I was over the center stripe." "You pulled up next to me." "I did pull up next to you." "And then you pulled up to the shoulder." "I'm on the center stripe. There was cars coming. What was I supposed to do?" In other words, she knew I was there. She knew she had no space, and that's just what I get for being in her way. I'm told there's a Facebook posting where she apparently told someone else that I pulled in front of her. You can judge for yourself, having seen the video, and also that she did not run me off the road. You can also judge that for yourself from the video. But since that's what she also told the cop, I think it's up to law enforcement to decide if Kyle is a place where it's legal to run bicycles off the road. If this was a motorcycle, or as I said, the Volkswagen, or even for that matter, a hairdresser in town, somebody who doesn't have the means or the large vehicle. Is it okay to run cars off the road, run people off the road? The law says that bicycles have the same responsibilities and the same duties. They have to follow the same laws. They have to be treated like a vehicle on the road. The question is, what does the law say? So my advice is, if you see this red Ford Expedition, you'd better have something on hand to stop her, because she's going to run you off the road. I'm sure she's a very nice person, but at the same time, if it had been my daughter or my wife on the road that day, I think I'd be visiting them in the morgue. Of course, the solution at a stoplight, if you're coming up to a bicycle, just don't pass the bicycle. Just wait. Treat them like a car. You'll be 5 seconds later, but everyone will be happy and everyone will go home. So if you're wondering why bicycles will take the lane at a stoplight, now you know why. Because there are people who will try to squeeze through or just push the bicycle out of their way. Sorry, but it's something we're responding to, not something we're doing because we hate you. Meanwhile, a shout out to the many people in town who do drive carefully, pass bikers wide, and take extra precautions to make sure everybody drives safely and try to be kind. That's all I have for today. Thanks for watching.